Good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone. Welcome to episode 99 of the 476ers podcast. And today we're going to talk about the play-in tournament. So stay tuned.
Yo. Yo. Justice for the blind, just something that'll find in the rhyme that are coming from my mind.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone. Welcome to episode 99, 99 to infinity. You know, shout out to the J. Cole freestyle, even though I'm not a big fan of his latest album. But, you know, who am I? I'm no one important. I'm just a guy, you know, it doesn't matter. I'm not going to get into J. Cole's album. If you like it, good for you. I'm happy for you. I am happy for you. We're going to talk about the play-in tournament, though. That's what we're here to talk about, basketball. And maybe I'll do a review on J. Cole's album. Probably not, though. Probably not. I probably won't do it, honestly, because doesn't matter. This is not what this is about. We're talking about basketball here. We're talking about basketball. We're not even going to talk about J. Cole playing basketball overseas. We're going to talk about this NBA basketball. Yesterday, if you were tuned in, was a hell of a fun day in the association. Although ended kind of whatever, as most games, as standings were getting decided until the end of the day. There were a lot of people were resting people. I was kind of surprised to see Boston. Well, no, I guess it didn't really matter. They couldn't. Yeah, right, because Boston couldn't move up or down. They were slotted in 7. And that was going to be it. Washington jumped from 10 to 8 by winning yesterday, and Indiana lost. Who did Indiana lose to? I can't remember. Charlotte lost, and the Charlotte game was great. If you got a chance to watch that, Charlotte was playing. Man, I can't remember who any of these teams were playing right now. The Charlotte game was great. They went into overtime, even though they ended up losing. And, you know, it was a hell of a day. Steph went ballistic again. I mean, honestly, it's kind of tough. LeBron said that they're about to play the who he believes is the MVP of the NBA season. That's a little hollow to me because LeBron can sometimes be a little, he thinks he's the MVP every year, and that's fair. He probably should think that, honestly, because he has an argument. He probably is the MVP almost every single year. But with that said, I don't, sometimes LeBron can be, kind of wants to paint a certain narrative to, like I said, I've mentioned this before. He wants to paint a certain narrative at times to make it seem like what he's doing is that to kind of big up his own accomplishments. You know what I mean? I mentioned before about this ankle injury, how this is kind of his flu game, but then you watch, the game last night, he's just kind of fucking flying all over the place, looking like LeBron. Like I said, I'm not, and then with this, to me, like it kind of feels like, and LeBron's a smart dude, so he knows what he's doing. Kind of feels like he's saying that Steph is the MVP, so that when he eliminates Golden State in this playing game, it makes it all that much more impressive. You know what I mean? And then if they win the championship, he's going to say that this was the hardest championship in NBA history. So, kind of see it coming down the pike there. It is a shame. I didn't want LA Golden State. I know everybody else does want that, but I want to – the worst possible thing is having LeBron or Steph go home. Well, I guess if one of them wins, I guess the benefit of 7-8 means they get 2 chances, right? So even if LA loses or Golden State loses, they're going to end up playing the winner of Memphis San Antonio. Which kind of want to believe that Golden State would win. I mean, the thing is I don't know what's going to happen in that series. I mean, let's run down these. Well, first of all, Philadelphia, before we jump there. So obviously we beat the Magic twice in a row. The Magic, whatever. Cole Anthony scored 36 yesterday on 25 shots. He was 10 for 25, but 14 of 14 from the free throw line, which is crazy. But Tyrese scored, man. Tyrese scored a lot. And I was looking at I didn't really watch the game. The first half stats I was looking at, and just disappointed in Shake. Shake was 1 for 7 in the first half, although he finished 4 for 6 for the game in the second half. But I mean, you're playing these backups. Shake, there's just no excuse. I mean, he just doesn't look right. He's just not looking right. George Hill, whatever. Tyrese, reason for hope. Reason for hope. That's what I'm going to call him. The reason for hope. He scored 30, had I think 6 rebounds, 7 assists, something like that. I mean, he had a full game. He looked like LeBron out there against these, also Rans and backups and all these guys. And Tyrese played great. So maybe that's some hope for us going forward, going into the playoffs right now. We're going to need that scoring punch to coming off the bench. We don't, like I said, we don't have a ton of penetration, and our penetration is like COVID. You know what I mean? Meaning there wasn't a lot of penetrating happening. If you catch my drift, that's a sexual joke. I'm sorry, it's childish. So that was good. You know what I mean? Nice that we won twice. Listen, it's a great accomplishment. Finished with the first seed overall in the East. I'm sorry, not overall. Finishing with the first seed in the East is really is a good accomplishment. You know what I mean? Regardless whatever you want to call it. I mean, obviously there are a lot of the Nets. You look at the Nets, and they had this kind of weird up and down season, and guys playing, guys leaving, Kyrie taking time off, and James getting injured and KD being injured. And, it's kind of crazy that really it's impressive as hell that they finished with 48 wins. I mean, it really is impressive in this season for them to have finished with that. But I think even if you made this a normal season, the only difference would be that we'd be the 2 seed and they'd be the 1 seed probably. You know what I mean? I thought they would be the 1 seed, but they lost a couple crucial games over the last week. Yesterday, they beat the Cavaliers. Kevin Durant had 22 points on 10 shots and 12 assists or something like that, and also managed to get Colin Sexton ejected from the game. Well, he didn't get ejected. He didn't get him ejected. Colin got himself ejected with the weirdest, kind of looked like he was trying to put the ball, right on a drive, but he left the ball down here and instead just flung his elbow up right into KD's chin. I get it. He was doing it. I understand why he did it. You know what I mean? I get it. You know what I mean? It's not right, though. It's not right. I don't applaud that. It's not a good job, Colin, but I understand why you do it. KD can be a very frustrating person to deal with, so I understand. I don't applaud it, though. I don't accept it. It's not a good job. But, they won yesterday. Obviously, they have James Harden back. So, there is a good argument. I'm going to support the play-in tournament forever, and especially because the one argument I keep hearing is, well, the 1 and 2 seed don't know who they're preparing for. They don't know who they're going to be preparing for, right, in the playoffs, and that's cool, and I can understand that. Except that the 1 and 2 seeds in the NBA always make it to the second round. There are like a couple times, like the We Believe Warriors, right, where it hasn't happened, or there was the Nuggets. What year was that? The 95 Nuggets, I think, who did they beat? Did they beat the Jazz or the Supersonics? I can't remember who they beat in the first round in like 95, 96. I can't remember what year that was with Mutombo on that team. They were a 7 seed. It just doesn't happen often. 7, 8 seeds, it really doesn't make a difference. You know what I mean? Let's keep it real. It don't necessarily make a difference. I don't know how you're looking at Boston right now. Boston looks, they're limping into the postseason right now. You know what I mean? No Jalen, which is a shame. I meant to talk about that on last week's podcast. Jalen out for the season. That's a shame. That's heartbreaking. I like Jalen a lot. You know what I mean? I do. I like Jalen. I'll never root for an injury. I'm a big fan of Jalen. It's a shame. That makes me sad. Kemba does, don't look right. And they got a lot of guys playing. They got a lot of semi-playing. I talked about Grant Williams before, where Grant Williams sometimes looks like he doesn't know what he's doing out there. We're getting a lot of Jabari Parker. We're getting a lot of Peyton Pritchard. We're getting a lot of Aaron Nesmith. We're getting a lot of guys, a lot of guys from the Celtics. A lot of Marcus Smart weirdness and wildness. So I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with Boston. It would behoove the NBA here. Well, Charlotte would be an interesting story. But if they don't have Gordon Hayward back, it becomes a lot less interesting. It's only interesting because of LaMelo Ball. It really, the interesting story would be Boston playing if they can regain any semblance of anything. You know what I mean? Right now, but without Jalen, they're so limited. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen with that team. I just don't know what's going to happen with Boston. That's I would be concerned. If I'm Boston, I don't feel good having to see Washington right now, even though Bradley Beal just came back. Yesterday, he struggled. Struggled mightily yesterday. Who did they play yesterday? Man, I can't remember. You know what? Let's pull up this yesterday's schedule real quick. I wouldn't feel. I know Boston lost to the Knicks, but they were resting guys. Yeah, the Pacers beat the Raptors. Right. Oh, the Hornets Wizards. Okay, right. That was right. That was the game. That didn't go into overtime. What am I talking about? I'm thinking of a different game that went in overtime. I think the Hornets went into overtime on Saturday night is what I'm confused. I think they went into overtime Saturday night and just struggled. But I mean, the Wizards straight up beat them yesterday. It was kind of, it's not a must-win game. You know what I mean? I know a lot of people treating it like a playoff game. I get it, but the Wizards were already in. The Hornets are already in. But you want to fight for that 7-8 so that you can, um, get two chances, right? You're fighting for the 7-8 so you can get two chances, essentially, to increase your chances is what it is. You know what I mean? So that's what teams are kind of angling for. The Spurs lost yesterday. They couldn't really go up in the standings anyway, and the Suns didn't play anybody. But there was another game here that was a little bit interesting. I mean, the Lakers dominated the Pelicans on, they weren't playing it. The Trailblazers blew out the Nuggets, which was kind of crazy. I was kind of hoping for the Nuggets to win again. So, but whatever, it doesn't really make a difference. Point being, if I'm Boston, I'm not feeling good against Washington. Washington, by all advanced metrics, is one of the better teams over the last month and a half of the season. I mean, they struggled because of a ton of injuries. They struggled because of a ton of COVID and all that shit that hit them. I mean, they're missing so many guys. You know what I mean? They were missing Rui for most of the season. Not that, but it's just solid role players that you're losing, right? You're missing Rui for a lot part of the season. They lose Danny Avdia, three or 4 weeks ago for the season. They lost Thomas Bryant early on in the season. And while Thomas Bryant's, I don't want to say replaceable. I mean, they you gotta give some credit to the front office. I mean, they got some value out of Alex Len. Daniel Gafford has been a revelation for them. But they, Bertans was in and out of the lineup. I mean, there was 2 weeks that they didn't practice or anything. You know what I mean? And it's kind of crazy. It makes me feel a lot better that they're in, because I guarantee they'd be in the playoffs, and at least they're in the play-in. I think they're going to beat Boston. If I was betting money, I'm going to say they're going to beat Boston tomorrow. You know what I mean? Tomorrow night. If you don't know, the game starts at 6:30. So the first game is Indiana-Charlotte. That's at 6:30 Tuesday night. The second game is at 9 p.m. Boston-Washington. I'm going to say Washington is going to beat Boston. I would not be surprised if Indiana beat Charlotte. I'll be honest with you. Indiana has been playing well. And I don't know. They've been playing well over the last couple weeks when all the reports started coming out about them probably going to fire Nate Bjorken and all that stuff. It kind of came together, whatever. I don't really understand it. Yesterday, TJ McConnell had 17 assists off the bench. It's wild. 17 assists yesterday. And then the other dude Amari Brissett, I think that's his name, Amari Brissett, he had 30 yesterday. That's crazy. And it wasn't necessarily a must-win game, but you don't want to be limping in. You don't want to be losing games. And plus, had Washington lost and Indiana won, they would have moved up into this. They would have moved up in the play-in to 8. You know what I mean? But now that they're going to be 9, I wouldn't be surprised if Indiana won. I'm going to be honest. I wouldn't be surprised. I like Charlotte. I'm going to watch you can't watch the Charlotte broadcast because that's a shame. But Charlotte's broadcast has been A1 all season. If you don't know Charlotte's brother, you do know because you're seeing it on Instagram. Anytime there's a LaMelo Ball highlight and there's a dude screaming like a lunatic in the background, that's Charlotte's broadcast. You know what I mean? Being the greatest, being incredible. So I don't know what's going to happen. I think Charlotte's going to, like I said, I have a feeling Indiana's going to win. I think Charlotte comes to an end. If Gordon Hayward was playing tomorrow and had he been playing, going into tomorrow, I would have maybe a different mindset, a different view of this game. I just don't see. Indiana's been kind of playing well, man. That's the problem. Sabonis can be a bear. There's no one there that's going to stop Sabonis. They play a lot of small lineups, a lot of PJ Washington at the 5, a lot of Miles Bridges at the 4. So I don't know that they're going to be able to really match up against Sabonis. We'll see. I think it's going to be a good game. I think it's going to be entertaining. Both of these teams score a lot. You know what I mean? Both of these teams score a lot. I think the X factor in this is going to be Rozier. I mean, Rozier's been playing great all season. Is Rozier going to have what it takes to go ballistic in a game? I mean, he has playoff experience. We know that with the Celtics. Is he going to have what it takes to kind of go a little ballistic, maybe score 40, and have the other guys just pick up the slack? LaMelo play well. I think LaMelo will play well. Whatever. We'll see. It's one of his first big game actions, but LaMelo strikes me as someone who doesn't think at all about shit. He's just out there, flower childing it up, looking like a hippie, just bouncing around. He reminds me of Sunshine from Remember the Titans, where it's like it's not clear whether Sunshine knows he was playing football. You know what I mean? It's like sometimes it looks like LaMelo is not exactly sure. that he's on a basketball court, but he's out there. He's out there dishing it. You know what I mean? Whipping it around, doing his thing. Um, so we'll see. Indiana has vets, has a lot of veterans who've been in the playoffs. Charlotte, I don't know if they're ready for this yet. You know what I mean? Against Washington, it kind of showed in yesterday's game. You know, they were up, and then Washington, because Russ has been here before, Bradley Beal's had some experience, but Bradley didn't even play well. He didn't really play that well. Russ played really big yesterday. You know what I mean? So we'll see. I think Washington's going to be Boston. I don't feel good about Boston. I don't see anything. You know what I mean? I don't see anything, and I don't see that Tatum's upside as a scorer right now is going to be enough to stop the duo of Russ and Beal's upside. Really, what you're going to be relying on is hoping that Russ, you know, if it's a close game down the stretch, is Russ going to shoot you out of the game? It's possible. He's done it before, but I don't see enough from Kemba right now. I don't see enough from these guys. I just don't see it. I don't see it in Boston. I mean, so many times over the last week that they're down, you know, double digits at halftime, but then they come roaring back, and that's impressive. But it's just confusing that keeps happening. I just don't understand it. So I'm not feeling good about it. Memphis, San Antonio. That this is going to be interesting, man. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm going to be honest with you. This is an interesting one. There's a little biasness in me because I want to say Memphis is going to win. You know what I mean? I want to say Memphis. I like Memphis. I like that team a lot, man. Big fan of John Moran, if you know. Like Jaren Jackson a lot. He's a talented dude. I like Desmond Bane. He's a good shooter. I do not like Dylan Brooks. Slow mo I have an affinity for because I also play basketball in slow motion. They got a lot of guys. Jonas Valanciunas is finally playing at a level that people wanted him to play at for 10 years. He's figured it out. He's averaging 16 and 12 this season. The Raptors thought he was going to do that for them. He did not do that for them. So he's playing well. I like Brandon Clark. They got a lot of guys I like, man. They really do. They really have a lot of guys I like. As it was pointed out yesterday a few times against Golden State, they're not a good three-point shooting team, and that's kind of difficult in today's NBA. The good thing is when you draw the Spurs are not shooting a ton of threes this year. You know what I mean? This is not the Spurs from 3 or 4 or 5 years ago where they're shooting threes at historic clips. They are settling for a lot of twos. Well, that's what kind of happens when you get DeMar DeRozan on your team, and I like DeMar. You know what I mean? I do. I like DeMar, you know, as a player. But I don't know that's going to really help them. You know what I mean? They have a propensity to get a big three here and there from Patty Mills, a big three here and there from what's his face? What's his first name? White, with the big forehead. I can't remember. The massive forehead. You know what I mean? They tend to get a three from him. DeJounte can shoot threes pretty okay. And, you know, Jakob Pertl's been playing good defense. I just don't know what's going to happen here. You know what I mean? Is Memphis ready for this? Memphis lost in the play-in tournament already, right? And that was against a good Blazers team. Not a really good, but a good Blazers team. And essentially you're staring down Dame Lillard on the other side of that court. And that's, you know, kind of a scary thing. You're not really staring anyone down on the other side of the court, but you are staring years of experience, playoff experience down on the other side of the court, whether you talk about Greg Popovich or you talk about DeMar DeRozan or you talk about Derek White. That's it. Who's been in the playoffs on a few playoff iterations with the Spurs. Patty White, who's played Patty Mills, who's played in a million playoff games. Well, not a million, but, you know, he's played in a lot of playoff games. I don't know what's going to happen. You know what I mean? But if you're not shooting threes, they're not shooting threes. It's kind of who can get the best twos. Well, if you're really talking about who's going to get the best twos, the argument really would be DeMar DeRozan is a two-point specialist. He specializes in getting 2 points. You know what I mean? There is very few two-point getters in the NBA better than DeMar. You know, and he also is really good at getting to the line. This year, he's shown, I think he's averaging a career high in assists this year, if I'm not mistaken. Showed a hell of a propensity to dish out the ball, to play make. He's played really, really well this year. Honestly, DeMar's played really, really well this year. He won't get, you know, there was an argument for him to be in the All-Star game. He won't be on any All-NBA teams. And, you know, it's almost a shame because, like, you almost wish you could do, like, an All-NBA for all the playoff teams and then an All-NBA for none of the playoff teams, right? And where DeMar, so you can kind of represent that DeMar DeRozan was really good. You know, he was good this year. You know, maybe I'll do that myself. Maybe I'll do something like that because I've been thinking about doing alternate things like I talked about last week, having the Offensive Player of the Year award, and which would be Steph this year, without a question in my mind, it's Steph. But having an Offensive Player of the Year award to help tell the story, yeah, he may not be the MVP, but he is the Offensive Player of the Year without a question. And then you could have like a non-playoff first team All NBA players, second team All NBA players where DeMar DeRozan can shine. He can have some love there. You know what I mean? He gets who else would be on this team? Let me just see something real quick. I just want to take a look, see if there's 10 players I can name that would be on these teams. Oh yeah, Zach LaVine would be on that team. Vucevic would be on that team. Arguably Jeremy Grant could be on that team. Zion would be on that team. Zion might be on the All NBA teams, but whatever. Definitely an argument for Cat to be on that team. If SGA played more games, you can make an argument for him to be on that team. Yeah, I may do this. And I may have already done it already just now. Anyway, that's the point. So I don't know what's going to happen that game. If I had to choose, I'm going upset. Fuck it. I'm going upset. Spurs. Spurs are going to beat Memphis. It's an upset. I'm going to say it's upset. Spurs are not going to make it past whoever they play next, though. I don't think either one of those teams. I would be more worried about Memphis. I'm more worried about Memphis making it past this and possibly upsetting the Lakers and Golden State. But I'm actually going to go with an upset here and the Spurs. Say the Spurs are going to win. I'm going to say the Lakers are going to be Golden State. I mean, let's just be honest here. Let's be clear. Golden State is playing really, really well. One of the better defensive teams in the NBA. If you watched last night's game, you saw exactly kind of why. Because you got Draymond facilitating, playing really, really well. Great defense. I mean, he definitely probably deserves to be on All NBA defensive team right now. Playing great defense all season. Steph, you know, it's funny because what was kind of frustrating is on the broadcast, they kept talking about Dylan Brooks, the job that Dylan Brooks was doing on Steph, and that's fine. Dylan was playing good defense on Steph, but they were also misleading because they kept saying that against Dylan, he was like at one point in the first half against Dylan, he was 1 for 11 or something like that. And I'm like, no, that's not true because it's like they seem to not cut. They seem to not include the backdoor cuts, all the backdoor cuts where Draymond hit him with a good pass and Steph finished. And Dylan was the trailer, is chasing Steph in those plays. They were not including those plays. You know, I guess if you were talking about like on a one-on-one situation, Dylan getting around the screen and contesting a shot, okay, but there was a bunch of shots where Steph said, okay, cool, I'm having trouble getting threes on him. I mean, Steph's ultimate power, it really brings up a good argument because I think sometimes people like, I got to an argument one time with somebody at LA Fitness, no surprise, you know, All-Star Brian. I got into an argument with one time with this guy at LA Fitness who we were playing a full court game, and I think I scored the first 5 points of the game. And the guy who was defending, we were talking shit already before this full court game. We were talking shit. We had played something else. We was talking shit already. We were already going back and forth a little bit. So we get into the game, and I'm kind of doing the Steph thing. I'm grabbing a rebound, going full court and finishing, or I'm backdoor cutting. He's not paying attention. I'm getting open, shooting threes, and this other dude starts talking shit to him about how I'm trashing him, and he's like, yeah, but he's not scoring on me. He can't score on me, and it's like, what kind of dumb argument is this? Are you defending me? Am I your assignment? Okay, when you left school this day, did they say, Brian Miranda, your assignment? Did they say that? Okay. And did I not score points? Okay, well, so then I'm scoring on you. That's it. I don't care. However those points come is not important. I'm scoring on you. It don't matter. I'm scoring on you. It makes no difference. I'm scoring. I'm scoring points. You're supposed to be defending me. Then I'm scoring on you. That's it. It's the only argument. There is no argument after that. So the point is, however you want to debate that is not really important to me. You know what I mean? I don't really care. But the point is you're saying that Steph is 1 for whatever when he wasn't. You know what I mean? He wasn't. There was at least 2 or 3 other layups that he hit while Dylan was guarding him during that stretch. So, but you know, Andrew Wiggins is playing really, really well for them. He's been playing great. I mean, that one play, you could see it happening. The Steph missed 3 that Andrew comes from the weak side and just right. I mean, that really encapsulates the Wiggins experience because it just seemed like he kept rising higher and higher and higher to grab that rebound. And it's almost like you wonder if Wiggins knows he can jump that high most of the time. But when the instinct takes over, he goes and gets it. right? And it's like Wiggins, if you could do this more often, if you treated your NBA career like you just treated this rebound, you'd probably be more effective. You know what I mean? You'd be a more effective player. You know, you'd be more effective. So we'll see what's going to happen. I just don't see. I just don't see it. You know what I mean? I just don't see how they're going to beat the Lakers. Lakers have too much. I mean, you have LeBron, you have AD. That's a lot. That's a lot to overcome. You know what I mean? It's a lot to overcome. Draymond is not going to stop AD. 4 years ago, Draymond used to give AD problems. Right now, Draymond is not going to give AD any problems. I don't think. I don't think they're going to get. He's going to give I don't think he's going to give AD any problems. I'm just going to keep it real with you. I don't think that's going to happen. Then we're going to have Wiggins, Gardner, LeBron. You think that's going to go well for you? Probably not. Nope. Probably not. You're going to have Steph guarding Dennis Schroeder. Dennis Schroeder is going to come into tomorrow's game, or I'm sorry, Thursday's. Was that Wednesday's game? He's going to come into Wednesday's game thinking he's the best point guard on the court. That's just naturally how he thinks. They have some good perimeter defenders that they can throw around there. The Warriors bench has been playing well, but I don't think the Warriors bench is better than the Lakers bench. You know, it's just too much. It's just going to be too much. And I just can't believe, listen, as good as Steph is, and as good as Steph can be in the playoffs and in these moments, the only person I would say who's better than him in these moments is LeBron. Hey, you can make an argument for Luka too. You definitely make an argument for Luka. Luka is incredible in these moments. But the only other player I would say, yeah, is LeBron, man. That's kind of a shitty situation to be in. That's a shitty situation to be in. You know what I mean? So I'm going to go ahead and say that Golden State is going to lose. I think Golden State will ultimately make it in. I think they're going to beat whoever the winner of 9 and 10 is. I just have to believe it. And if trust me, if Steph struggles against the Lakers for whatever reason, let's say, oh yeah, whoever, Memphis, San Antonio, get ready, because that's going to be a long fucking night. That's going to be the longest night for you. That's going to be episode 4, season 8, Game of Thrones. You know what I mean? Minus the shitty ending. He's going to be the Night King minus Arya. There will be no Arya to save you. There will not be one. He is going to eliminate Google the history of the world. He's going to eliminate it all. It's over. Unless you didn't watch Game of Thrones, you don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. That's fine. It's not important. Last season was trash. That's all you need to know. And then we're going to be on to the playoffs. At that point, based on what I just said, just to do a quick run through here, based on what I just said, so I think I have ultimately Washington and I'm sorry. And then Indiana, let's say Indiana wins and they play, man, I don't feel good for Boston. I don't feel good for Boston in any one of those situations. I don't feel good for Boston in any one of these situations. I'll be real with you. I'm gonna say Boston wins. I'm gonna give it to both. Yeah, but in both conferences, I'm gonna say 7 and 8 is gonna stay 7 and 8 is what I'm gonna say. Except that there's gonna be a little flip flop on the East. I think Washington takes the 7 seed, Boston takes the 8 seed. We're gonna have a Washington-Brooklyn first round, and then we're gonna have my worst nightmare, Boston, Philadelphia first round. Either my worst nightmare or gonna be the best, most successful dream ever. Except that Brad has a tendency to outcoach the fuck out of us every chance he gets. The way Boston's playing, though, I have to imagine that's not going to go well. It's just not going to go well. I'm going to be honest, we've seen Toby defend Jason Tatum one-on-one a few times this season and do a great job. We got so many guys to throw at their best player, and they don't have anyone to really make us pay. I mean, Kemba makes us pay. Kemba does usually make us pay. I'll be honest with you. Kemba makes us pay. He usually does. But they don't have anyone to contest Joe or compete with Joe, and they don't have the defensive personnel, in my opinion, to really employ the type of zone that they need to employ to make us pay. You know what I mean? We have violence for Boston. After last year, yeah, we're going to come for blood against Boston. So I think that it arguably could be a worst case for Boston. As a fan of the Sixers, as someone who hates Boston, it scares me because you just can't. There's going to be so much history on the line. You just never know what the fuck is going to happen. I think we will be Boston, though. Washington, Brooklyn, that's going to be a fun series. I think that's going to be a fun series because Brooklyn doesn't really play defense. It's going to be a lot of scoring. Ultimately, I don't think Washington is going to be able to get up the points that is needed to beat Brooklyn. Brooklyn's going to be the first team to possibly win a championship that doesn't play defense. I'll be honest with you, scoring 150 points a game. You know what I mean? But we'll see. You know what I mean? We'll see. It's never happened before. It's never really happened. No great offensive team has won a championship without some good defense, without being a top 10 unit in the NBA. So I don't know. That's going to be tough for Brooklyn. That's going to be tough for Brooklyn. In the West, Lakers, Golden State, I think it's going to be 7-8. I think it's going to finish like that, and that's going to be an argument against this play-in tournament because if 7-8 in both these conferences finish in the playoffs, people are going to be like, well, what was the point of this? You know what I mean? But I still think it's better. I do think it's better. You know what I mean? I just think that this year is a little bit different because you're in a situation where the superstars on the 7 and 8 team are better than the superstars on the 9-10 team, arguably. You know what I mean? It's kind of like usually in the NBA, best player wins. You know, it really is the case. What makes the play-in great is that the best player typically wins over a series. But there's a good chance that you lose that first game. That happens. That happens, man. Guys, one seeds will lose the first game in the playoffs. You know what I mean? That happens. So could that happen in this play-in? We'll see. You know what I mean? It's definitely possible. So at that point, we would have Utah, Golden State. I'll be honest with you. Utah is going to win the series probably, but I wouldn't feel good if I was Utah. No, I wouldn't feel good. One, Golden State's been playing great over the last month and a half. Steph is obviously definitely has an argument for MVP. They have some defenders that they can throw at Steph and, you know, try to make it difficult, but are you going to it's not about do you have the defenders, because Steph's really what Steph does. Let's be honest. Let's be real quick. This is what Steph does. Steph has essentially, and it bears out because he is the leading scorer in the third quarter, right? Because essentially what he does is he takes his time in the first half. He's a marathon runner. All right, he has to be a marathon runner because the amount he moves on the court means that his stamina and endurance has to be through the roof. Well, nobody else's stamina and endurance has what it takes to defend Steph for that long. So it's no surprise in the third quarter he gets off because you're probably too fucking exhausted to continue chasing him. I would be worried if I was Utah. I think Golden State will lose that series, but Utah is going to limp into that second round. They need Donovan Mitchell. They're going to need Donovan. You know what I mean? There's rumors that he could be back for game one. There's rumors that he would really be back middle of the first round, and that never works out that well. You know what I mean? That never works out that well. This year and over the last 2 years, we've seen a lot more players come back, and I talked about this regarding KD, but we're seeing this now with Jaren Jackson Jr. as well, where players somehow come back from injury, and it seems like they don't miss a beat. You know what I mean? That used to never be the case. In years past, you came back from injury, and you were rusty as shit. Look at LeBron. You know, no rust. Missed a month of basketball. He comes back with no rust. You know what I mean? So I don't know what changed, what science changed, and how teams are now making this better, but it just seems like guys are coming back with no rust, with less rust. So maybe Donovan comes back and that's the case. We'll see. And then Lakers, Phoenix. You know what I mean? That's a hell of a first round right there. Let me tell you. That's a hell of a first round. Phoenix is one of the best teams all year. Good defensive team. Excellent at getting crunch time buckets. Excellent at getting two-pointers. I don't know. They may lead the league in two-pointers. I can't remember in mid-range jump shots. I can't remember. I may be making that up. That's going to be a tough series. I don't think they can beat the Lakers. I don't think. It would be really crazy to see if the 7 and 8 upset 1 and 2 in the West. That would be the wildest fucking thing that's ever happened in the history of this shit. Anyway, so let's see what happens. I'm going to say Lakers, Golden State. I'm going to say 7 and 8 stays the same in the West. I'm going to say in the East, 8 and 7 flip-flop. Washington moves to 7. Boston moves to 8. We're going to get ready for Boston. Brooklyn gets ready for Washington. Utah gets ready for Golden State. And the Suns get ready for L.A. Let's see what happens. It's going to be interesting as hell. You can't tell me that this is not going to be fun as shit. Yeah, that's it, everyone. You know the drill. Wash your hands. Stay safe. Black Lives Matter. Arrest the cops who killed Breonna Taylor. Stop Asian hate. Wear a mask. Get vaccinated or fuck off. Take care.
Yo. Yo. Justice for the blind. Just something that'll find in the rhymes that are coming from my mind. Used to come